boo time. Boo 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 time. Boo 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 boo. This has been my experience recently playing Monster Hunter Rise, is hearing Rika hum the song from Nier Automata in the background. And she's always asking me, when am I going to play it again? Because see, I finally completed my second playthrough of Nier Automata about 2 weeks ago. And Rika has become hooked to the story in the game. And she wants to know what's going to happen next. And so she's always asking me, when are you going to play Nier? When are you going to play Nier? And I told her I wouldn't until I make this video. And I've been putting it off because why? Because I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise. So I'm finally going to take a stab at making this video, but I don't have anything written. I mean, I have notes, but it's not scripted out. So this video is probably going to be kind of all over the place, and I'm going to treat it kind of like a journal. So be fair warned, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to have it spoiled, stop watching this video. So anyway, let's start with it. The game is growing on me and possibly maybe become one of my favorite games of all time. Which is a hard list to do, by the way, because my brother and I talked about this when I started this channel about 5 years ago, where I was like, well, maybe I'll make a video about the top 10 games of all time, my top 10, right? But the more we kept thinking about it, it's hard to come up with. But one of these days, maybe I'll try, but it's really hard to come up with a definitive top 10. So, but Nier is shaping up to be one of them, and it's because of the way the game makes you think and the way it gets you to feel. Like this game has had me feeling all kinds of different ways. And I'm not going to say it's never been done in games before, but the second playthrough definitely added a lot more to what I mean, it's possibly because I spent a little more time as opposed to how I played the first playthrough where I just blazed through it. I took my time with the second playthrough to really kind of get a better feel for the game, and it's starting to show. And so I'm excited to get to the third and fourth playthrough. What I will say, though, for sure is I don't quite see the connection with 2B and 9S. Like, I don't see how, like, why their strength or why their connection was so strong. Like, I just they haven't told that story quite well to me just yet. Or it hasn't been fleshed out, at least the way I'd like to see it. I understand that 2B and 9S do develop a strong connection, but it just doesn't feel that way. But I did feel this way with some of the characters throughout the story, and even in the side quests. Like, one of the main ones in this, I mean, it's not like this channel is monetized anyway, so I'm just going to say it. Like, the suicide seems to be a recurring theme, or not theme, but the thing with the robots, with some of the robots in the game. Like, how does a robot experience thoughts of suicide? And even as someone who's not suicidal, I've never been suicidal. It wasn't until recent moments in my life where I started to kind of, I guess, understand why a person would be suicidal. And this game kind of also expanded on those thought process. Like, when I would think about why, and there's some, I don't want to spoil too much of it. There's some of the things where robots have thoughts, and it's crazy how this game gets into that and helps, and it touches these topics. You wouldn't expect to see those kinds of things in a video, or at least I haven't. I haven't in my, almost 30 years plus of gaming. I've never really come across there's one other game I can think of off the top of my bat, and that would be from Final Fantasy 3, or that's the American Final Fantasy 6 in Japan. But there's not a lot of games that really kind of touch that too much, and in this game they really get you to think about that. And not that I want you to, or anybody to think about suicide. It put me in a place where I thought about those topics. It was interesting for me. Another one was like this mother and son robot, these androids that wanted to abandon a cause. The screamer robot that at the amusement park really, really touched close to home, where there was this part where you just read text, but you see how this robot, loses or puts her identity in another person, or something else. And that's happened to people. It's happened to me, and I just, it's hard to explain what I felt when I was watching that part, reading that screen. But I actually felt really bad for that robot. It was weird. It was weird that this game put me in this place where I felt like that. And it's amazing that developers could put this in a game. Another one was, which was really interesting to me too, was another one where this android was discussing, like, I guess because humans have been dead. Well, that's a big one in the game too. Humans have been dead for a long time. I was once they put that out there, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. This story just keeps getting better. Well, why is it great? Humans are dead. You have to play the game. I don't want to spoil too much, but there was a human that was discussing what humans were like, before androids got there, and he had mentioned how our society had too many rules, and that's definitely a thought process I've had too. Like, in many ways, this game kind of feels like almost like my whole life, with all the questions that the game asks and the thoughts that the game has within it. I feel like I'm thinking to myself, or like it's me in this game. It's weird how this game does this, and it may not do this for everyone, but it did it for me on the second playthrough, where I felt like it was my whole life. And it's not just with the thoughts and the questions that the game asks, but also with how the game presents itself, from being an old arcade shooter to a 2D shooter to a 3D action adventure game. It feels like it's the whole gamut. Like, it's my whole life of gaming in one game. And I couldn't help but feeling like when I completed the second playthrough. I mean, yeah, the story elements are a lot the same, but they introduce some different parts, especially seeing through 9S, and where he narrates certain parts of the game as well. But this second playthrough definitely made me even more excited for the third, and Eureka too, which is why she's constantly humming the music from Nier Automata in the background. She's waiting for me to play it, so I can finally start playing my third playthrough now that I've completed my second playthrough. So if you have any questions or thoughts that you want to share about Nier Automata, I'd love to hear them. If not, stick around for the third one. My next video, when I complete my third playthrough, where I'll journal my thoughts about the game then.
Brother, if you're feeling down, listen to What You Need by NXS.